There's a first time for everything. First words, first steps, first birthdays, first meetings. Life's made up of firsts. I think perhaps the best first is the first time that you fall in love. There's just something about that very first person that walks into your life and opens up to you in a way that you never realised was possible before. It's something that everyone remembers. I definitely do. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was 15 and it was a school day, completely average, just like any other day of my life. And it was in maths class. I was sitting at the back of the room trying to get my head around this ridiculous algebra question, ready to tear my hair out. Maths has never been my strongest subject. And that's what happened. The classroom door opened and there he was. He was standing next to our head teacher, who was explaining that as our newest student who has recently moved here. I remember watching with piqued interest. He observed everyone in the classroom, most likely trying to determine who might be the easiest to try and befriend. You know, school was always so brutal, so no one wanted to be an outsider. The head teacher was droning on, and that, mixed with just the mundane nature of the class, made my eyes roll. And just as I did so, his eyes landed on me. It was a funny moment, really. It felt like I'd been caught red-handed or something. And I remember sort of freezing like a deer in headlights. And then he smiled at me and felt like falling in slow motion. Stupid smile. Actually made maths class like seem bearable. And he chose me. I chose him. It was the easiest thing ever in the beginning. We ate lunch together and shared inside jokes. Always had each other's backs. From the outside looking in, it might not have looked like much, but it was to us. You know, it was like we had our own secret language that only we could speak, and being with him felt like a million little fireworks going off in my mind. At the time, I didn't know how to define it, but looking back, I think I know what it was. Another first for me. But when you're in the thick of it and you feel like you couldn't be happier, you forget that life is made up of more first times than that, and hand in hand with your first love comes your first heartbreak. And we really were just kids at the time, so I suppose it was inevitable. We were both young, dumb idiots, and what we had was never going to withstand that. But it didn't make it hurt any less when I walked into school one day and he was sitting next to someone else. She'd been moved into our class and the teacher had asked him to catch her up on everything, which was a funny joke because that was the moment that I fell behind. And he tried to include me at first and I tried to keep up, but it didn't take long for the two of them to write their own language that I just couldn't understand. And before long, I was sitting at the back of the maths classroom again, tearing my hair out to impossible problems. None of those math problems were more impossible than trying to understand how someone who once shared everything with you is now just another stranger you walk past in the corridors. I think back to him, you know, from time to time, and I smile. I've fallen in love many times since then, but nothing quite compares to your first love.
When I was younger, the kitchen table was a crucial part of our house. My mother used to say that it was important for us to reconnect over dinner. And she was right. Even though we all had our own stresses and problems to deal with in our own lives, the one thing we could all count on was that kitchen table to bring us together in the evening. I have carried that sentiment throughout most of my life. And to be honest, I think that's why we worked so well in the beginning. On our first date, we went to a nice place for dinner. I remember how lovely it was. But I remember even more how, right from the start, she gave me her full attention. I was so used to most first dates just being glued to their phones so often. But not her. She wanted to tell me how she thought it was important to take the time to get to know someone on a dinner date. It struck me because it was as if I had met someone on the same wavelength as me. It was sort of perfect. The kitchen table became a really key part of our relationship. See, we both led pretty busy lifestyles, but the one thing we could count on was at the end of the day, we'd have dinner together at that table, tell each other about our lives. We would take it in turns to cook and clean. It was nice. Whenever either of us had any big news to share, we'd do it at the table. Any occasion was celebrated there. That table was really important. Until it became a place where the unthinkable happened. I came home one day to find her sitting at the table, hands clasped together nervously and tapping her foot on the floor. I knew straight away something was wrong. When I sat down in front of her, she looked at me and gave me a melancholy smile. That was the moment I knew. The spark had gone from her eyes, just as it had with us. Things between us just weren't the same anymore. It was time for us to admit that. I still eat dinner at the kitchen table. Sometimes alone and sometimes with friends. I'm still waiting for that one person though, who will always sit across from me.
I've always thought there was something about trains. Something about a bunch of strangers having to coexist with one another for a few hours, watching the world go by until they reach wherever they're going. Something sort of melancholic about the whole experience. It is always considered such a mundane activity for people to do. But it wasn't for me. Because of one simple occasion that happened to me last year. Still, when I think back to it, it makes me smile. How lovely chance encounters can be. I was on a train to Bristol when it happened. Originally, the seat next to me was meant to be vacant, but an overabundance of passengers meant that every seat had to be filled. And so it happened. She came to sit next to me. At first, I thought it would just be like any other train journey. That was until she noticed the book I was reading sat on the table. It was a cult classic, and until that very moment, I never found anyone else who had read it. But she had. She had. And immediately began talking about her favorite lines from the text. Needless to say, she got my attention right away. We talked for almost an hour about so many things: books, films, favorite songs. We ended up having a lot in common. I told really bad jokes that she seemed to find funny. It was just so easy to talk to her. I never had that before with anyone. It was nice. I had to leave halfway through a conversation about favorite holidays destinations to go to the toilet. I must have only been gone for a few minutes. But it was obviously a minute too late. When I got back to my seat, the train had pulled up to the next stop. And the other seat was empty. She'd gone. She left a note behind. All it said was, "It was nice meeting you." No phone, no promise of another meeting. It was that fleeting. 2 hours and that was that. I think back to her from time to time and wonder what she's doing now. I hope she's still as excited about her favorite books. That's what I remember most. I hope she's happy.
Hello? Hi, can you hear me? Good. Hi. Yeah, sorry for taking a back seat. I it's it's been a hard week and I know I probably should have done more today, but no, I remember what you said. Sorry. I mean, not sorry. Thank you for being patient with me. I want to take a back seat. I know I could have participated more, but it's been a bit of a hard week. That's all right. Sleeping, uh, drinking. Sorry, that was a bad joke. No, that wasn't a. It's not true. Actually, I have stopped drinking. Yeah, you're right. It is a depressant, Luca. That's why I've stopped. Um, People don't really seem to understand that. No, yeah, I know most people my age wouldn't have gone through what but it still sucks when they can't understand. And what I want to say, honestly, is like I imagine you've got loads of wounds and cuts inside. I know, but like imagine, and then you drink loads of Bacardi. It's gonna sting, no? um, it's been one no, it's been 8 months. for 1 month off of the drink, like next Wednesday. Thank you, Hasim. Yeah, so how have I actually been coping? Um, well, I've been keeping myself busy, and when it gets really when it gets too heavy, I have started this new series actually. Anyone heard of The Love Shack? The Love Shack? Yeah, no, don't bother. Honestly, it's so bad. And they've got a new actor in the new series, but the writing is so bad, and even good acting can't really cover that. And I can't block it out, and it's a bit distracting actually. Um, no, it's all right. Yeah. No, I remember what you said last week. Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I do remember. I just didn't really consider it because I don't personally I don't think I'm ready yet. No, it is a good step in the direction. I understand. Um, it's actually it's actually funny that you say that, Jane. Um, yeah, no, because I do remember what you said last week, but I also I did like think on it in the week coming up to today. It was actually while I was watching Love Shack. It was on that Dream episode. It's so not good. Anyway, um, no. Anyway, I was thinking about how like it is a good step in the right direction, and I really understand intellectually like to st- look at grief and take it head on and process it is usually the healthiest thing to do. And but then I realized the first thing that people say to me when I like tell them the news after sorry and everything is the people that understand the most are like distract yourself as much as you can, you know, keep yourself busy. Um, but that's just bull, isn't it? It's just bull. And that's what I've been doing, I think, for too long now. But it just it ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? It really does, because when people see that you're showering, they're like, "Oh, she's okay." um, so you know, you wake up, you shower, you scroll, you brush your teeth, you scroll. But he is still there, isn't he? Still there. And I can't look at him yet. I can't. And then finally, when I get to sleep, um, and I dream, there he is, but right in front of me, and always in a black suit, and from the other room, and we talk, we hug, and I cry really hard in my sleep, and I wake up with a sore throat. And in that 2 second bliss of like waking up and you don't really know where you are, when that fades, it's like warm here, and something behind my rib cage crumbles and falls into the swamp of my large intestine, and it bubbles, and it really hurts. Could be a morning poo, but anyway, the bit behind it that was left, it's like, it feels pink and red and like wet, like a newborn hamster. And I should be grateful. I am. No, I am, because it's new and it's alive, at least, and it's not gone, and it's healing, or but I just can't help but hate to see it there. I really don't want that new thing. I don't want it. But at least I know that he's doing okay. Hello? Hello? Hi. Hi, did I cut out? No, I've adjusted. I did cut out. Brilliant. How long was I cut out for? Just when I was saying that I wasn't ready, and I fantastic. Oh, okay. No, I did speak for that whole time. I didn't realise. No, yeah. I'm aware I'm aware of the time. Don't worry. Um I'll give you the lowdown. Uh I guess when a mirror breaks, it's harder to look into. Yeah, it's harder to look into. I'm trying. Yeah, yeah. No, I will take your advice, Jane. I'll let you know next week. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. See you next week. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.
Dinner's ready.
Coming.
I once read about a tree somewhere in the world that relies on growing around another tree in order to survive. And when I read it, I remembered thinking, what would happen if you separated the trees? I mean, I think that that tree would find it a lot harder to grow in a world where the other one kept it standing for so long. Just like friends keep you standing, even when things get tough. Just the other day, I was pondering this exact thing. I think this whole thing came back to me because of what I went through. I lost my best friend. I'm not entirely sure when it happened, just somewhere along the line, we stopped liking the same things. I mean, the films we used to watch and dissect together became boring to her, and the songs we used to belt out together in the car seemed monotone to me. And we stopped being partners in crime, we stopped growing together. And then it was me who took an axe to the branches. I never meant for it to happen, honestly. It was just a stupid mistake that started with a simple text. there was this guy. We met him on a night out. He had a really nice smile and we laughed a lot together. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I don't think either of us did. And I can't believe that I missed the telltale signs that she liked him. But at that point, she stopped sharing that part of herself with me. The friendship was already doomed, so it definitely didn't help things when he messaged me a few weeks later asking if I wanted to meet up with him. And when I told her, there was no big explosion, no massive reaction. I think I would have preferred it if there was. That was always our way. One of us would get really angry, but at least we were being honest about how we felt and the other was able to pick up the pieces. But this time, she just shut herself off from me. She closed the door. She didn't even slam it. It was just over. If only I hadn't answered that text. We might have stood a chance. But she, who was once my best friend, is now just a stranger.
When I was 20, I moved into my first apartment. It was amazing. I loved it. It was my first chance at freedom. And I could really envision everything that I wanted. And then 2 weeks in to living there, I was woken up really late by some really loud music. It was my first time living at home on my own. So I had no idea what to do, but it was so loud that I eventually went out to try and ask them to turn it down a bit. And that led me 3 doors down from mine. And I knocked on the door, and no answer, so I kept knocking and knocking. I was actually getting quite angry, but eventually someone answered. And she was really lovely, you know. She apologised profusely and we ended up having a really nice conversation. Little did I know that would be the beginning of us, the start of all our adventures. We ended up seeing each other a lot more after that, and things were going great, you know. We had a lot in common and we seemed to really, really get on. And then she invited me to one of her parties. And it was great fun, but she was just incredible, you know. She had this charisma that just drew everyone in, and everyone loved to have her attention just for a second, you know, including me. I think that was the moment when I realised I really liked her, actually. So we met up more and more, and it just seemed like the most obvious thing to do was to tell her how I felt, you know. So I went all out, you know. I had a whole plan in my head. I bought flowers, I made myself look nice, and, you know, it felt like nothing could go wrong. And I left my apartment to go to hers, and she was already in the corridor, but she was with another man. And they were laughing, and her eyes were sparkling, and she just seemed so happy with him. And they were very touchy with each other. Nothing like she'd ever been with me. And then she acknowledged me, nodded, and then went into her apartment with him. Because I think that was clear to me how she felt. So much for all those adventures, eh?